North Korea reveals test of second fatal underwater drone designed to attack the U.S. and allies. This is, again, the same system that we talked about last week. We have a ton to go over today, but just to get right into it, this is probably the least crazy out of everything. North Korean officials on Saturday revealed that they have successfully tested a second type of nuclear-capable underwater attack drone developed to wipe out naval vessels and level ports. The Hail-2 drone, named after the Korean word meaning tsunamis or tidal waves, traveled underwater for more than 71 hours before exploding a mock warhead in the waters near the eastern port city of Tanchon on Friday, according to the country's Korean Central News Agency. The successful 4-day trial run confirmed the weapon could hit targets more than 600 miles away with fatal attack ability. The system will serve as an advantageous and prospective military potential of the armed forces of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the KCNA said. Essentially, North Korea just got this system, whether it is, again, as cool as they say it is, it's an underwater drone that can cause a tsunami. We have seen this since Russia said that they first had this. The one thing that I want people to think about is the more and more countries that actually do have this in the next conflict, will we have a tsunami as part of a war? This is absolutely insane, and we'll talk about this and much more on tonight's episode of Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this with your live and current events. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a ton to go over, including, like I said, this is the least crazy. There are leaks happening all over the place. As far as the leaks are talking about multiple countries, we'll go deeper into what they are saying. And as we talked about them on Friday, they were first saying, oh, they were fake and that they fudged the numbers. The more that comes out, it's really hard for them to say that these are all fake. So the implications behind these leaks, this is what we thought. Unfortunately, this is leading us into the odds of going to World War III are going up by the day. And I'm not saying that to scare people. That's just the reality. This is news from a prepper standpoint. Not everything is going to be rainbows and ponies today. So make sure if you want to check my work, go over to marfooglenews.com. Dex has put together all of the links and articles for today, so make sure to go over there and see a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to be talking about here today. Of course, today's show, all you have to do is look for today's thumbnail, Mega Trenches, Leaks, and Hotline Severed. Once you click on that, it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today. On top of that, there is an overflow/web content. That is all the stuff that could not fit into today's show. We'll talk about that at the very end. Welcome yourself into the chat. Make sure to say hello to everybody that's down there. There's a really great community. And again, a lot of our stuff is ended up sent to us by community members. This is a people-run show, so make sure you go down and meet them. All right, and then Dex, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is happening, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So first of all, we have, so everybody laughs at North Korea, and at this point, they now have, here's the thing, even if just put North Korea aside, the more and more that obviously if North Korea and Russia have this thing, almost every country probably has something like it, right? Dex, would you say it's safe to assume that the U.S. probably has something like this? We might actually see a tsunami in our lifetime that is caused by man. Think about that. That's pretty nuts. They said that they wouldn't do it way long ago when they all agreed to not control natural events like this. But do you think they're going to hold up to that going into the next 10 years?
Or if we have seen a tsunami, or if there is a tsunami caused by man, would they even tell us? Would we ever know? Would they just blame it on a natural occurring event?
Or earthquakes or any other thing? The thing is with where science and technology is, how could you not say that it's a capability? I mean, they could design things to not only change the things around us, and if you even suggest that, then you're crazy, right? Or you're speaking, info, right? But the fact is, they agreed years ago, decades ago, before computers, before home PCs, they actually did an agreement not to do things like control earthquakes, to control natural events. Not because they couldn't do it. They basically admitted that they could do it, but because they couldn't control and stop it. Isn't that right, Dex?
Well, yeah, exactly.
That agreement, which I'll try to link that. Last time I mentioned it, people were like, what are you talking about? There was an agreement that they would not use those because they were considered weapons of mass destruction, which is absolutely true. Say you start a tsunami and it ends up affecting, it's like, how could you control the waves? If you caused a massive tsunami with a nuclear weapon, you couldn't, it's not like you can, I guess, corral the waves into one area. I guess you could get, see what the range is on it, and maybe the waves will be small by the time they reach somewhere else. But basically, you're causing a disaster of epic proportions that you can't really control. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then again, we'll talk about it coming up at the end here. SpaceX eyeing third week of April for Starship orbital launch. Many people are following this, especially those who watch the launches. SpaceX's huge Starship vehicle could launch its first ever orbital test flight by the end of next week, if all goes according to plan. SpaceX has been gearing up for the pioneering flight for months, and the prep work has accelerated recently. Last week, for example, technicians stacked the space-bound Starship, placing its Ship 24 upper stage prototype atop its Booster 7 first stage on the orbital launch mount at Starbase in South Texas facility. It says such activity implies that Starship is in the home stretch and that SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk has repeatedly reinforced the notion via Twitter. He did so again on Monday, April 10th, stressing that launch could be less than 2 weeks away. Well, why this is important, this is supposed to be the type of ship that is going to be taking folks to the moon and to Mars. According to him, at least. I know there's a huge debate whether it's all real and everything, but again, this is what they are stating. This is where we are in our lives, where tech, and they're talking about flying people to the moon and Mars on spaceships and starships like this. People like me ask, if this is true, then why? Why has this been pushed in the last few years? The same people, Elon Musk, the same people that are essentially saying that the world is doomed and our only chance for human society to survive is that we control more than one planet. That same guy, who basically is an end times kind of guy, who is in the know in almost every way you can think of with multiple governments around the planet, is trying to get people off Earth. But which people? So do you think that they're going to pick random people from, I don't know, say the Section 8 housing down the street? Or do you think they're going to grab their elite friends and bounce out of here when, everything happens? That's my question. Do you think they're going to do a lottery for it, like in Greenland? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit more picky? Dex, as far as the Starship, I mean, it's pretty exciting for a lot of Foogle fam. They're excited to see this. This is crazy. This is a ship that will take people to outer space, supposedly, and even regular people will be able to go if he is telling the truth, right?
Well, this is a very huge ship, and it's a big feat if they can pull this off. They've had a lot of setbacks when it was through the other testing, but of course, they made it to this part. So, a lot of people are joking though, saying that if he's put it off a week and a half, basically, does that line up with April 20th and all the 420 jokes that go hand in hand with Elon. So I think it's even in this article. The author even said that too. So I think if he pulls that off, then he's really trolling the world as a whole.
Which he is most likely I think he is, well, he's definitely the richest troll in the world. But again, he is somebody who also backs up his trolling, though. That's what's kind of crazy. And then how the latest leaked documents are different from past breaches. Dex, do you want to go over how these differ way from anything we've seen before?
Well, they're trying to draw a comparison to say Wiki or Snowden and those different times when those came out. But one of the interesting things in this particular event is we're dealing with we're basically in this what many are even calling a current global conflict. But just even if it's not the third one, even if it's just the beginning, we're in the stages, especially in Europe, but in other locations where things are getting really hot. And one of the things that was noticed in here is that of these documents, they're barely 40 days old. So that means the leak is really fresh. And whoever did it, obviously it's in the US because a lot of the documents were labeled not for foreign consumption. So that means they had to stay in the US. So that means only people, only someone in the US that had top secret clearance could have leaked that. And it's obviously, it appears, at least is what they're saying, is it's a leak. They're not saying it's a hack. It's not like somebody got it. So it's probably an intentional thing. And a lot of the stuff that's coming out, and we'll talk more about it as we go through some of the other things that have been revealed. It's pretty crazy. And, you sort of have to, question a little bit. Of course, if it's too crazy, but it may be true, they'll just say, don't worry, it's fake. Don't, you can ignore this. It's somebody made it up or they altered it. But I think you have to read between the lines here and try to decipher what you think is real and what you don't.
Well, one thing I've noticed is that everybody does not believe that this is really happening. They believe it's part of some other objective. I do want to remind people, think about that. It's not like the people at the very, very, very top don't know that people do not trust media. In that way, they can play 4D chess and they can kind of do the rock, paper, scissors thing. Like he did scissors before, so I know that he thinks that I'm going to do rock, so I'm going to do paper because he did scissors before, so he's going to do scissors again. Kind of this, like, you have to think steps ahead, or in chess where you think these steps ahead. They know we don't trust media, so even though they can put out stuff, and if they don't want us to believe it, they will put it out in the media. I think that, I guarantee you they do this sometimes. So if something comes out and is talked about by all mainstream media members, then people immediately do not believe it. Because it is a general thing now where if mainstream is talking about it, our community says, I believe the opposite. But they know that. So there is real stuff coming out, and then they can say they covered it. Then they can say that they put it out there. But people will disregard it because it came from mainstream media. They might even push it a little bit harder. They might make it very unnatural how they put it out, but they're actually putting out real information. Now, of course, people now believe like 95% of mainstream media is total BS. But at the same time, they couldn't, they've always said they can't just do all fake news. They can't just do all nothing. But what they do, what is fake about it is the opinions and the op-eds and the cultural push that they're trying to, the spins that they put on it. A lot of this information is totally like wag the dog. But there are real things happening here. As far as World War III is taking place, it's already started in my eyes, but many people are still in the dark about this. Now, many people here, our community, aren't. The people you share it with, though, I bet you they don't. They don't think about this kind of stuff. It's hard to step outside your own body and go into somebody else's, and what they follow. especially with the internet and how it has targeted all of us and given us information. This is why a lot of us use VPNs and try to stay separate so it doesn't target us by what we like and everything else, because then you're getting into this echo chamber. To stay out of the echo chamber, you basically have to, surf like a ghost, right? But as far as like how it targets people, some people will not be exposed to any of this because all of these algorithms are feeding them what makes them happy, what makes them engaged. So your friends and family that are just totally brainwashed, they actually are. They are brainwashed by the algorithms feeding them stuff and then feeding it in a way that's packaged nicely that they're like, that makes sense. It's logical. It's reasonable. It's got a nice tie on and nice shoes. So I believe it over the crazy person shouting on a laptop, right? But unfortunately, time after time and time again, the people on their laptops have been right almost every time. And it's not because they're psychic, it's because they're looking at the big picture. They're not looking at where the distraction hand is trying to get them to go. You guys know this. When you try to talk to your friends and family and they think you're crazy about all this, and if you even tell them to prepping is now looked down upon like you're some sort of nut. This is purposeful. All of this is purposeful. But my point is I think it's a dangerous thing to think that to absolutely always think the opposite, because right now there are things right now that they're putting right in front of our face. And they've done this before major events where they've put it out and they literally told us what was going to happen. That's why you have to look at the patterns and take away the bias and the spin on it and see what can we try to get out of this that's the truth. Why this is important, why I'm saying this, is because we are so close, you can smell war. That we are here. There's trenches dug in all of these European countries. Finland just joined. This is a huge, huge escalation. Everything is about to go down, and I think people are really in denial about this. As far as the leaked Pentagon documents appear to show U.S. spying on ally South Korea. And also, people are questioning, why are these leaks happening in the first place? Why did this happen? When they think of this, they also think of like, why did the Wade versus Roe stuff come out like a week early? It seemed purposeful, right? Well, we don't know who is behind this, but it definitely seems like it's doing the trick. It is making everybody pissed off. It is setting precedents for the world that basically we're the big bad guy in some cases, and that we are also about to go into a world conflict. This changes politics. It changes a lot of things if you look at what is actually being said here. And the majority of it, they're kind of brushing over and say, oh, that's fake. What is in here is a treasure trove of insanity. Espionage is a habit well baked into U.S. history, though at times it has created headaches with allies who have found themselves at the other end of American spying. In 2013, it is revealed that NSA and CIA had been taping Germany's then Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone for years. As more reports of U.S. prying into the German government emerged, months later, an American intelligence official was even asked to leave the embassy in Berlin over the allegations of spying, with Merkel herself describing the situation as a clear contradiction to trusting cooperation. So they were actually, recording the presidents and, looking at their cell phone cameras. It says, and Germany isn't the only ally that's felt aggrieved. The French government, if you remember, was outraged in 2015 after news broke that the U.S. had been spying on the then president Francois Hollande and his predecessors. Hollande called the American counterpart Barack Obama and said he received an assurance that Washington would limit its unacceptable spying among allies. And I've used that example. The French president had his cell phone accessed, and they were looking at his cameras and things. He pointed that out back then. It says, perhaps unsurprisingly, that habit hasn't stopped. In recent weeks, a scattering of allegedly leaked Pentagon documents, some purportedly only meant to be accessible to those with high U.S. security clearance, were posted across social media platforms like Discord, Telegram, and Twitter. Time could not independently verify how authentic the documents were, but they reportedly included information on U.S. assessments of the conflict in UKR, as well as intelligence on diplomatic allies. It says at least two of the documents, the Korea Herald reports, detailed internal discussions among South Korea's officials concerning the U.S. pressuring the East Asian nation to help supply weapons to UKR amid Seoul's hesitancy. The information was reportedly based in part on intercepted communication signals. So Dex, specifically though, they were being, do you hear that? They're being pressured to supply and to support this current embargo that's going on.
Yeah, that's correct. They've been pushing them to supply munitions and other things. But what came out in the documents was that that was in the documents, and it was in there and captured via an intercepted communication. In other words, we were intercepting their communications to spy on them, and they're our ally. They're a big ally. So, again, it's like what we did in the past, and we said we wouldn't do again. We're continuing to do. So, I guess we spy on everyone.
Yeah, so all of the information they got, I think it's actually really interesting that all of these countries, that I bet if you took all of them, that the U.S. is the one pushing all of this to happen, which only backs up the view of like what is going on right now. Who is really in charge of this UKR thing and what's happening here. But as far as intercepting stuff, I'm not surprised. Are you? Are you surprised that the U.S. is spying on all of its allies? I mean, like when they got caught, did you think that they were just going to stop since they had the technology to listen to the entire world? Remember, they did all of this listening to the entire world after 2001 and basically said that this was all done for our safety. After the Patriot Act and all of that was put into place, they were listening and watching all of us. Mind you, at the same time, even though people know this, everybody is now encouraged to have all of the smart devices in the world in their house, and they're even making smart homes. So essentially, they'll be able to watch and listen to every single thing you do. It's horrifying. And then South Korea will demand appropriate measures after the Pentagon documents leak. South Korea will demand that the U.S. take appropriate measures once the investigation into leaked Pentagon documents detailing U.S. intelligence has concluded. It says the comment comes as leaked classified Defense Department documents posted online revealed that U.S. intelligence gathering on allies, including South Korea. The South Korean official also cast doubt on the legitimacy of the documents. Basically, they told him to say, "Oh, yeah, say you think they're fake." Saying that there are suggestions that some of the information might be fabricated. A senior U.S. official has also said that some of the documents may have been altered. They are they're in recovery mode. They're in, I guess, what do you call it? They're in the PR mode where they need to chill everybody out, right?
Damage control.
Yeah, damage control. I don't know but I mean, do you think that this is on purpose, though? I know that there's going to be a camp of people that are like, this is being purposely leaked, and it could actually have the U.S. or somebody behind it on purpose to then confuse or part of a conflict, a cold conflict propaganda tactic or something. But what even freakier in these things, they're talking about wars that are coming up. These leaked documents talk about this stuff. They're preparing. And so if you do believe that these are real, then you should probably get yourself lined up. Get all your ducks in a row. Dex, from what we've seen so far, I mean, these are looking more and more valid, right? Like they're real.
Yeah, and it's not like they denied it, they being the Pentagon. Now they've launched an investigation to figure out how it got out. Now, certainly they may deny sections of it or subsets of it, and rightfully so. We talked specifically last week when it first came out about some numbers that were different, and those numbers were actually published in two different places, showing it being different from the leaked documents. So it was easy to say, okay, well, one of those was obviously fudged, and you can see who fudged it and probably understand why. In that scenario, I think it was the numbers of perishings on the Vlad side versus the UKR side, and the numbers were sort of flip-flopped. And you can guess, like, that makes sense that somebody would have done that to change the narrative. Either way, one way or the other. But nonetheless, there's something legitimate here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be investigating this. There's something legitimate here. Everybody wouldn't be talking about it. And when I say everybody, I don't just mean the media. The media talks about anything they can get eyeballs on, but officials from other state departments are talking about this. They're responding to it. They're having to deal with it. They're having to run damage control, so to speak. Now, is this something that could have come out intentionally? Maybe. There may be some underlying reason. I think we talked about that as an option last week too. But it's also, it also could be intentionally done to sabotage our relationships with these countries. So that's another thing that could have happened. There's all sorts of spins on this. Yeah,
and as far as like the numbers being flip-flopped, right? So the ones that they say were the real numbers that showed UKR had an extremely low death count, and that Vlad and his army had a huge or a bigger, about double death count. And then the fake numbers where they said, oh, this visibly looks altered, showed that it was like 70,000 something UKR people perished and 17 of Russia's soldiers perished, right? That actually makes a lot more sense. If it was Russia versus the USA, I could see the first, where this party has less perished than Russia. But when it's Russia versus UKR and their hand-me-downs, when Russia it was always a very dominant adversary, it just makes more logical sense that there would be less of the Russian soldiers that have perished than UKRs. They hadn't gone into Russia, attacking into Russia. Russia was shooting long range and just blowing stuff up. It makes a whole lot more sense that more people perished on UKR's side. But they have to make this thing where they're winning and your tax dollars are going towards freedom and world security. So just saying, I mean, like that's my opinion. What's yours? It doesn't sit well with me that it's like they're picking and choosing. The things that cause controversy are all fake. The rest that it's okay, it's like, not a big deal. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then thank you over on DLive. Thank you, everybody that has been helping over there to, especially all of the ones who went over to Cab 7 and donated towards the Easter donation contest that they're doing and helped Cab 7 get higher up on that list. Thank you over on DLive. I appreciate you guys. And thank you, Kimbria, Queen BTP, Cognitable, Laura Griffith, Scooby-Doo Do-Right, Skyhouse Jammer, and Major Lee Stone. Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and thank you, Chance and Jammer, for holding it down over there, and keep going. Before we talk about NK severs a phone link with the South and denounces neighbor as a puppet traitor, I want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out the new Flex 1500. Now they have a tactical version, which they had help from the Air Force Research Laboratory and the military to help design one that is up to their standards. The new Flex Tactical is essentially the most badass solar generator out there. It has even a built-in heater so it can run in extreme colds. It has reinforced 1,500-pound latches. It, again, is water and dust resistant. It's the whole 9 yards. So if you like to get the best of the best, the Flex Tactical would be that. Now, you're going to have to wait. This is on pre-order, so make sure to get your pre-order in before they are running out of them. When they get their batches of lithium, they make these units, and then they send them out as it goes. So people have waited for the Flex. The Flex is harder to get than the X2. The X2 has a built-in battery system, so it's a solid one-off unit that you can get, and it does its purpose. Those can be dual-linked. But the cool part about the Flex technology is that it's modular and you can expand it up to 96 batteries. So as it shows, you can have it on the tailgate of your truck and, hook up a TV or some drills, or you can actually add 96 batteries and have it be a full-on system, which now they have the Flex UPS rapid charger. They work like Legos. All of the different mods can basically clip in, and then it changes the overall performance. So again, that is a system that is built like a truck. It is reliable. The reason why people go with this over some YouTube ad generator is that these are going to run in an SHTF situation. If you want to get one of the best, then go over to marfuglenews.com/energy. I'm not just saying that because they're affiliate. I have the Flex with 2 batteries. I've used it a ton, and I've lost my power many times. I've used the X2 now a ton. That's my more portable. I just take it with me. And I use the Kodak LT, the little one, to charge all my phones and everything else. I bring it with me on every road trip that we do. So again, these are products that I use, and I really do think that people will not only benefit from it, it could save lives. To have power when there is no power is a huge deal, especially if you have things like CPAP machines and things that maybe your backup battery died. Well, you can plug it in with this. Go over to marfuglenews.com/energy. This one, you do need to use the code Marfoogle. You'll be helping our independent news channel. You'll be getting a special discount, and you'll be getting one of the best solar generators out there. You get power from the sun. You can charge it through the wall, through your car, and it's stealth. There is no sound from this. You're not going to be able to hear it from 3 blocks away running like a normal generator. That is one of the best key parts on top of not having to spend anything to get power. So marfugglenews.com/energy. Thank you in advance for anybody that has checked them out. All right, and then North Korea severs the phone link with the South and denounces neighbor as puppet traitor. So we hear all like the stupid, quotes that they do all the time, saying that, they have the dumbest. Nobody writes their stuff. They're like, oh, he's a dog that's on fire and we hate them. But this is a physical thing that they're doing. They're actually stopping the communication between the countries. This very well could just be a ploy, but why? What is triggering this 4 days other than the drills? We've had tons of these drills over the years. This has happened back in 2021 in October. But what is triggering this one other than the drill? Well, they say it's, of course, the huge, massive, largest ever drills that they did. But I think that there's more to this. I think that they are actually mobilizing. I believe that they're practicing and something is going on here. That goes against what many people think. So I understand that that's not popular, but they have been mobilizing troops. And that is what the chatter is that's not being talked about on the news. As far as the news talked about how they gathered jets, they gathered artillery, all of this. But the South Koreans are saying all sorts of other things. And then on top of that, now with the leaked documents, it looks like things are really getting bad. Dex, what do you think about them cutting the phone line? This could happen as a response to the drill, but it could also happen before something real goes down.
Well, this is not just a hotline where they can pick up the phone and call if there's an issue. They actually meet daily, 9 and 5 every day on weekdays, and the calls are not being answered. So this has gone from, they have this steady line of communication that they check in with, because let's not forget the DMZ is not just a park, right? It's not just a location on a map. It's literally a demilitarized zone. They're still in conflict. They still have guns pointed at each other across that line. And over the years, since things have settled, they continue to have skirmishes across it, and it can easily flare up. And that's why having something like this hotline is so critical. So when you shut this down, it's a clear sign of saying, hey, I'm not going to participate in that. And if things get out of hand, they're going to get out of hand because maybe we're headed in that direction and there's something else going on. So I totally agree. This is not a good sign. They can be angry. They can do all the drills they want. They can test whatever they want. They can even make offensive moves, right? All of that stuff they can do as an independent nation. But if they shut off the ability to communicate with the person that they're in conflict with, that's a sure sign of allowing those minor escalations to turn into actual conflict quickly.
And anything could be misconstrued, as I hear so much of like the community chatter that everyone thinks everything is a distraction. But at the same time, look at the bigger picture. All of these countries are having something go down at the same time. Speaking of which, leaked documents claim that Israel's Mossad encouraged protests against Netanyahu. This is the same Netanyahu that was with his cronies and saying that if the U.S. does not back them up on striking Iran, then they'll do it anyways. And now, if this information is true, the U.S. was essentially helping the Mossad encourage protests against their leader, which is like their CIA, right? Dex, this is also not a good. It seems like there's stuff that's being put out like skeletons in the closet that would make our allies really not like us.
Certainly. And I don't know if this report says that we're involved in it as much as we have the intelligence and we're showing that in their own country, their own organization was going against their prime minister, which, we've seen a lot. You might even look at our country and say you've seen some of those types of things happen. And I'm sure there's plenty of people here that would say, yeah, we've seen that go on with our 3-letter agencies against our own politicians, if you want to say it that way. But the fact that it's getting leaked out is, that's not going to help make things easier. They were just about into a complete civil conflict over there because of this leadership and the differences across the existing organizations, and the differences in the opinions of the people. But obviously, enough people put the one in. So that but and all of that's going on while they're in the middle of all this escalating conflict across the Middle East with you know Iran and others. So yeah, this is not good. This is not necessarily at bringing any amount of stability or any direction towards peace. This is definitely something that's going to shake up some sentiment over there, especially with those that are currently in charge, like Netanyahu.
Well, I think that, again, the sentiment on Twitter is that the CIA or NSA is somehow involved in this. This was the U.S. signals intelligence. And as far as why Mossad would go against their own leader, it seems like if you look at Netanyahu's connections and all of these other kind of people that he works with on a private basis and all of the things he's gone over through the last couple of years, a lot of people believe that the U.S. was involved in a lot of that, or at least three-letter agencies. So I don't know. I think that this is most definitely something that in the coming weeks, they are going to try to put blame on us or something that will separate us or somehow, make them less of an ally. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Zen1AZ, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate your support. And then LOD Will, thank you again for the super chat. You can always write something there. And then Rhino Nightly, thank you as well for the super sticker. Redeemed, thank you for the support last show. And then Stephen McMahon, happy Easter and Passover and Ramadan to all of you fine mother Fooglers. Hey, thank you. And again, Stephen, I believe I missed that, so thank you. And then Israeli army launches strikes in Syria after the rocket fire. This is one of the, I want to say this is like the 9th in a tit for tat back and forth. And we continue to cover when it goes back and forth. Israel launched artillery strikes on Syria Sunday morning after several rockets were fired from there and landed in the Israel-occupied Golan Heights, Israel Army announced. And it says it ISIS strike and the rocket attacks from Syria, which no one has claimed, are the latest episodes in escalating violence in the region. Quote, in response to the rockets fired from Syria earlier today, IDF artillery is currently striking Syrian territory, the military tweeted. So this just keeps going back and forth. Each time it gets a little bit worse. We've seen this before. So this by itself would not be out of the normal. For 5 years, I've covered these back and forth, and it seems like maybe 3 times a year it gets really hot, then it calms down, then it gets really hot. There's always these events where this people will be harassing this people, then because of it, there's outrage, and then this people harasses those people. Then it turns into rockets being fired. This is something that has never ended. It just keeps going. But the scary part is that this can get everybody involved if it goes really, really hot. And that's what we're watching. The big picture, look at this happening at the same time as the North and the South Koreas, China and Taiwan, Russia and UKR. Of course, South Africa joining in, all of the different things that are going on, India and Pakistan, all of the different things that are going on at the same time. It's pretty nuts to even think about it. And then Iran kickstarts multi-front Middle East conflict against Israel. Dex, do you want to go over this?
So first off, we have to understand who's writing this. So it's coming from J-Post, which is the Jerusalem Post. So that's the point of view from this. Now, what they're basically suggesting is that the week of attacks that have been going on from rockets fired in all these different locations are actually a manifestation of coming from the I country. I ran up to the store, that country, specifically controlling or working with the groups. They're the ones behind all of these attacks. That's the suggestion that's being made. I don't know if this is necessarily an opinion piece. It doesn't necessarily come across as one, but it certainly, I guess, could easily be an opinion piece. But you got to look at who it's coming from, because this is coming from the is country's point of view. It's coming from their media, specifically talking about that. So they're drawing an analogy that all of these attacks are actually the beginning of what is coming from Iran, and that will intensify. I think if this is the way they're going to view it, then that's going to intensify. Not necessarily striking Iran directly, but possibly That certainly could be the next step in the escalation. Is let's not just go after these locations where these other groups that are backed by them happen to be, but actually moving into the country itself and doing some more formal attacks there. So this is, I think this just paints that picture. It's their perspective. It's an interesting, it's one way to look at it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just what's being reported. It is a very valid news agency out of that covers the news specifically from is. So yeah, that's the story.
It's something that's only kind of getting more complicated as it goes on. We're going to see what is going to happen, and we'll follow and keep you guys updated. Hopefully this isn't, I think it would all go down at the same time when it does. All right, and then let's see here. China. We're going to get to China. There's going to be some stressful stuff in this. If you are easily anxious, I would tune out now. Try to give warning before some of the really bad stuff happens. So you don't call fearmonger, because we warned you. It's not all rainbows and ponies. China military displays force towards Taiwan after Psy trip. So over the weekend, everybody was talking about this. They did surround the island at the end of their drill, and they did exactly kind of what they did with Pelosi trip when they did that. Only I believe in some cases this was actually a much bigger ordeal. They actually surrounded more of the island, and they brought in different kinds of ships, as myself and everybody else was talking about how they did this, the ships tied together. They're practicing on how to blockade the island. It's the most likely scenario. They don't even have to fire a shot. If they can starve them out and cut them off from the rest of the world, it can be extremely, extremely useful. Taiwan's military sent several dozen warplanes and 11 warships towards Taiwan in a display of force following its president's trips to the U.S. The island's defense ministry said on Monday the Chinese military earlier had announced 3-day combat readiness patrols as a warning to Taiwan, the self-ruled island which China claims is its own. The actions follow President Tsai Ing-wen's delicate diplomatic mission to shore up Taiwan's dwindling alliances in Central America and boost U.S. support. A trip capped with a sensitive meeting with the U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. A U.S. congressional delegation also met with Tsai over the weekend in Taiwan after she returned. China responded to the McCarthy meeting by imposing a travel ban and financing sanctions against those associated with Tsai's U.S. trip and increased military activity. Between 6 a.m. Sunday and 6 a.m. Monday, a total of 70 planes were detected and half crossed the median of the Taiwan Strait. Which, if you remember at the very beginning of this, that had never happened. Now it happens all the time. After the Pelosi trip, that was one of the first times they had crossed the median line. Now it's almost a daily occurrence. But they said half crossed the median of the Taiwan Strait, an unofficial boundary once tactically accepted by both sides, according to Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense. Among the planes that crossed the median were 8 J-16 fighter jets, 4 J-1, 8 Su-30s, and reconnaissance planes. That followed the full day between Friday and Saturday, where 8 warships and 71 planes were detected near Taiwan, according to the island's defense ministry. The ministry said in a statement it was approaching the situation from a perspective of not escalating conflict and not causing disputes. Taiwan said that it monitored the Chinese moves through its land-based missile systems as well as on its own Navy vessels. At one point, they were pretty close, which I believe one of the main... somebody was going to, I saw stuff about Twitter about how 2 of the boats came close, but I didn't see any stories about it. I would assume that they probably went out and met them. In addition to combat readiness patrols, China's People's Liberation Army would hold live fire training in Luoyang Bay in China's Fujian province opposite Taiwan, the local maritime authority announced over the weekend. China's military harassment of Taiwan has intensified in recent years, with planes or ships sent towards the island on a near daily basis, with the numbers rising in reaction to sensitive activities. They basically used the McCarthy visit as an excuse to step things up. This, on top of everything else, I don't think that they're going to wait until Japan has a full-on military and because Japan turned their constitution on its head and said that they're going to build this stuff up. I don't think they're going to wait until the U.S. can manufacture its own chips I don't think they're going to wait until all of our amphibious land hopping ships are done, since theirs are already done. They have a giant fleet of these amphibious ships that can bring personnel from island to island to island. I don't think they're going to wait. Xi purposely told his people, oh, get ready, we're going to go to war with Taiwan in 2027. I think it's going to be much sooner than that. I think we may even see it this year in the next few months. That's my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. But also, once you see this story coming up, it's kind of like and what's funny is Russia put out a video very similar to it. It says that China, Taiwan, Beijing rehearses sealing off the island in the third day of drills. It's exactly what was put out there. It was exactly what was telegraphed. China said it was simulating sealing off Taiwan in a third day of drills as it appeared to use an aircraft carrier to launch jets towards the island. Taiwan said it had detected jets to the east, while China said that Shandong aircraft carrier had taken part. Beijing began the exercises on Saturday after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen met with the U.S. House Speaker in California. So far, though, however, the drills are not as big as those that followed Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei last August. Taiwan considers itself a sovereign state. China sees it as a breakaway province that eventually will be brought under Beijing's control. Now, I think they can only say that, and like I said, they got fishing vessels, and they got other vessels involved in on this one. They also had that ghost, I don't think they call it a ghost navy, they're fishing boats that have 50 cals on them, and from satellite images, if you look down, it looks like a normal fishing vessel, but they're actually militia. And one of the benefits of that is that if they're a fishing vessel, I believe they can turn their transponders off, or the tracking in those ships. So a lot of those, and then commercial and industrial ships were out there. So I don't know if it was actually smaller. I think it was bigger in a way, but less military. On Monday, Taiwan said that it spotted another 70 warplanes and 11 ships in its surrounding waters. A map of the flight path released by Taiwan's defense ministry showed 4 J-15 fighter jets to the island's east, suggesting that the Chinese military is for the first time simulating strikes from the east rather than the west, where China's mainland lies. Now, why would they do that? Obviously, they're saying that they're planning on hitting it from all sides. Analysts said that it was likely the jets had come from China's Shandong aircraft carrier, one of 2 such carriers it possesses, which are currently deployed in the western Pacific Ocean. Now, remember, they actually have a third that is completely complete. It is ready to go. It just doesn't have enough pilots. So they have been snatching up even American pilots, retired American pilots, and paying them absurd amounts of money to come fly for them. I just really wonder how close they are to having not only a third, but a 4th ship getting put out there. And are they waiting on that to do this? One aircraft carrier can make one hell of a difference when you're talking about an island takeover. The Chinese military confirmed on Monday in a statement that the Shandong had participated in Monday's exercises, and it said that fighter jets, planes loaded with live ammunition, had carried out multiple waves of simulated strikes on important targets. Now, as far as the U.S., we were actually there, or we were in the area. And that's something that we've talked about, is that the U.S. has to be there in order to do anything. If we are somewhere else, or somewhere else in the world, if they start invading, there's absolutely no chance. It would be less of a defending thing, and it would be more of an offensive to try to get back land. China is only 120-something miles off of the coast of Taiwan, or I should say Taiwan's about 120 miles off the coast of China. So they are very close. They're a lot closer than the U.S. So I always wondered if they were just going to post up part of our Navy like permanently over near Taiwan, how they would even do that. But it says a U.S. Navy destroyer passed through waters claimed by Beijing in the South China Sea in a show of force that comes as the nation's military hold drills around Taiwan. This is something that used to scare China, but it doesn't anymore. Back in Bill Clinton's age, I think it was 93 when they kind of pressed Taiwan and the U.S. pressed back. They went there with a bunch of ships, and China essentially backed off. Those days are over. We did the same thing earlier on with this whole Taiwan thing before Russia went into UKR, and it did nothing. It didn't faze them. They obviously are much more confident in their Navy and in their fighting capability, which is pretty scary to think about. And then the Chinese state TV shows chilling Taiwan invasion blitz video as Beijing forces practice sealing off the island. So the video, if you watch, it actually shows live action of real video footage of these missile launching trucks basically pulling up and deploying. It shows missiles, and it also shows an animated simulation of all of these missiles going from the mainland and hitting Taiwan. It also shows, basically the layout that they surrounded the island, then they're going to start hitting it and bombarding it. Why are they playing this on TV? Everybody just says, oh, it's just propaganda. But pretty much everybody agrees they're going to do this at some point. So is it propaganda, or is it just telling people like, hey, this is how we're going to do it and getting support for it? I don't know. Dex, when you saw the video, what did you think?
Well, it certainly painted a very clear picture of what their intentions were. It's literally, an animation of all these rockets going over and hitting into the water, I guess, obviously taking out Navy, and then hitting into the mainland of Taiwan. And then they've got the pictures of the jets, and then they've got these other rocket launchers that are lifting up and then firing off. So yeah, it's very obvious what message they're trying to convey on their TV to their citizens. So very, very clear message that they're looking at conflict with Taiwan.
And it has, I don't know what they're saying because I don't speak Mandarin, but it was, they essentially were doing a news broadcast saying this is how it would work. So they showed these a lot. And then residents either telegrammed or tweeted that they did see these things happening. So this wasn't like stock footage, or at least according to some of the folks that saw these things out there. So maybe this is part of the drill where they're bringing them out there to where they would actually be, but they're putting these things all over the place. We don't really know though, because a lot of the stuff in China, they can keep a secret better than anyone else because they've got their own kind of internet set up and they can cut things off before it leaves. What do you guys think? Do you think that they are preparing to take it soon? Let me know in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, let me know what you think. When do you think that they will take Taiwan? We've done former kind of surveys of this, and most people thought it was within the year, and that was this year. So, don't know. And then, before we move on, I do want to remind you guys there is a definitely a good reason to go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. EMP and CME are two things that are some of the most likely out of all of the crazy scenarios that can happen. EMP is actually the most likely as far as human-made, and CME is absolutely going to happen. A Carrington-level event will eventually hit Earth. It's just a matter if our technology is caught up and things are protected. The government and military are protecting their units. In fact, EMP Shield has worked with agencies like DHS and DOD to help protect their stuff. But if you want to protect your own, if you want a device on your cars, your trucks, your boats, your motorcycles, your generators, even your home, you can get one that will ground the signal of all phases of an EMP or a CME before it can fry your device. Go over to marfoogle.com/EMP. It's 100% American made, and it's a veteran-owned business. Plus, you're going to be helping support our independent channel. We are on our own. Thank you guys for going through our affiliates. You'll get $50 off per device. So if you want to outfit a few cars, you can do that at $50 off per unit. They now have the EMP Shield Micro, which is smaller, about a half the size of a hand. It's very small. It can fit into most devices that the traditional EMP Shield could not. The car version can be put in about 10 minutes. It's super easy. You don't have to be a mechanic. It's seriously one of the easiest jobs to do. So make sure to go check it out. marfooglenews.com/EMP. So you can get out to where you need to go to bug out, or get home from work to get to bug in. That's again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Thank you in advance for supporting. And then Taiwan warns Chinese misstep could lead to uncontrollable world war outbreak. Dex, go ahead.
Well, imagine, I mean, let's just put it in a different perspective. Imagine if Russia was sitting 200 miles off the coast of the Atlantic, off of DC, and was flying numerous fighter jets off of their one and only aircraft carrier into within 100 miles of our shore. Imagine they were doing that over and over again for 2 days. Would we just sit back and be like, yay, like don't do that, we don't want you to come near? No, we would probably have put our jets up there and probably knocked them out of the sky. Like we wouldn't put up with that. And I'm really surprised, in my opinion, that Taiwan is putting up with that. And that's what they're basically saying. It's like, hey, we're dealing with this incursion that's happening, and mind you, they're not necessarily coming across their land, but they're certainly coming close enough that would warrant, like, this is an aggressive action, even though we kind of know it's drills and they may be saying it's drills. But at what point do they actually take action upon it? Because the day that it really happens, I'm sure Xi is going to say, yeah, we're running drills, don't worry, it's just drills. And then boom, they come in, right? Because everybody's just sitting back, kicking back, saying, yeah, it's just drills, don't worry about it. And that's what they're saying. It's like, hey, we can't take this much more, this is getting crazy. At some point we're going to react, or somebody's going to screw up, and it's going to go into an all-out conflict. And that's the truth. And that's what we talk about all the time with these drills, is that they always sometimes they get so close that a drill can easily turn into some form of escalation. And in this case, being as hot as it is between Xi and Taiwan there, I think it's very likely we would see, much more than just an incident. It would probably spin up very quickly. So again, I'm rather shocked that they don't just put up their planes and start pushing back. I mean, we push back Vlad's planes near Alaska all the time. We don't let them get close to us. And when they do, we're putting jets right beside them saying, hey, take a right turn or we're going to take you out of the sky. Right. So they should be at that point they should logically be at that point. But on the other hand, they're trying not to get into a conflict because they know this is sort of chest beating, but at some point it's not going to be. And that some point could have been this weekend, and it could be tomorrow. We don't know when, but it's this is just getting higher and higher in the escalation levels.
And it keeps going. Overall, the bigger picture is looking pretty bleak. So how is it going to affect us, though? Wherever you may be, most of you are in the United States. You can see our country falling apart as far as at the seams. Everything is just getting squirrely. They've divided us culturally. We're close to a civil conflict on our own. And then if all of this goes down at the same time, it's just crazy to think that that our military has been doing all of this affirmation of all sorts of different causes and things, and it's like, look at what they're doing. China's military is savage, and I'm not trying to compliment them, but unfortunately these guys are smart, they're dangerous, and they're tough as nail. Their culture is just savage. As far as like when you think about how they train their military, they take a lot of notes. We help them. The U.S. military taught them a lot. They did co-drills with them, and they trained them a lot. I remember when the Chinese military came through to Seattle and we're walking with U.S. soldiers, and I'm like, wait, aren't they technically our adversary? It's not going to be a fun conflict if we go to war with China, and that's looking like what's going to happen. I think it's been clear as day that their government is trying to take over the world. That shouldn't be a crazy thing to say. Look at what they've done. Look at all of the places they've switched over. Look at world trade. Look at what they're doing. They openly steal our stuff. I mean, like, it's just nuts. And then Putin's 45-mile-long mega trench. Russian troops dig huge defensive fortification. Putin's 45-mile-long mega trench Russian troops dig huge defensive fortification visible from space as they prepare for a UKR counterattack. It says that the scar across the countryside seen from space is some 45 miles in length so far, as Russia fears a repeat of last year when UKR won back swaths of territory. Having invaded this part of UKR last year, Putin appears acutely worried about holding the strategic region despite illegally annexing it from the Russian Federation. The line is almost 50 miles behind the current front line, indicating that the Russian fear is to how far back the Russian despot's forces could be pushed. Now, I wonder how fast this thing took, how quick they did this. And then I also wonder, is there something coming? Is this partly due to some leaks that we don't know about? The trenches are being dug all over the place. We're looking at, after World War, you'll look back and you'll look at all these places and you'll see these will be battles in history, right? Especially if NATO ends up getting involved, or when they get involved. You're going to see all of these countries, like the trenches that are dug in Romania, the anti-tank measures in Poland. Now Finland is lining themselves up. I mean, like, this is what World War looks like before World War. I think we're already there, economically and everywhere else, but physically, a hot war between Russia and NATO. This is coming, in my opinion. Let's see here. I wanted to point out, this is coming from the UKR Center for Journalistic Investigations. So I don't know anything about them. So it is coming from UKR's side, so you can take it with a grain of salt. I don't know if you can access these kind of photos, the satellite photos, without this center, or if you can access it from our side. But see, they're if this is correct, they're building giant trenches. So obviously something big is about to go down, as far as maybe even an offensive towards them, towards Crimea, towards all of these other places. That must mean that on the UKR side that they've amassed some big stuff. Now they got tanks. They're getting some planes. They're getting all sorts of stuff. Dex, go ahead.
What's also interesting is they're alleging these have been built since September through current day. And they started on two different ends and met in the middle. And they used a third party. They hired laborers from Kyrgyzstan. And some are complaining that they haven't even been paid. So they hired them, but then didn't pay them. They got them to do the job and didn't pay them. But obviously, when you go back to those pictures, this isn't just a trench. This is huge. I mean, just like drive vehicles through. And they've also got anti-tank emplacements and dugouts throughout it as well.
This looks like World War. This looks like something out of World War II. This is massive. They're expecting more than just UKR soldiers coming up. I mean, look at it. This is way, way, way bigger than what people think. Let's see here. Let's go over to the chat. Let's see here. Oh, classic. Ursula Wright. I just wanted to wake you guys up. I saw a couple of people snoring in the back. Let's see her. Rebuke that in Jesus' name. Blessed hope. Gallon Hess says, let's see here. Dax knows some of the contractors. Where can I see what company isn't paying them? Let's see here. Follow Coolio's tracks. Scooby-Doo, right? Dank Bear, what's going on? With stealth mode says, haha, we're awake now. Good. Grace Thompson. Truth Iris says it's a way. It worked, especially if you have earphones on, man. I could see somebody like dropping their drink. Anyone else in the video of the mountain of cocaine on Zelensky's desk? Yeah, and I bet all of them have that. I bet it's not just him. It's probably everybody. All of the different politicians. I just watched the videos of him at some of the speeches, man. I'm like, that's not a cold. Vicky Bruick, T. Mike. Let's see here. 1,000 silver. Taiwan is China. Million Man Army. Jammer 1. Dale Val, booyah, F-U. Let's see here. Dale Val, it's up to others to follow scripture, not you. I am from Washington as well, Dank Bear. You should look at what's going on Twitter about the whole bill that was just passed. It's pretty crazy. Bobby Sue Fry, Be Borrowed, what is happening? Single Now, and Planet Feces. Great one. Ilea, thank you for keeping it held down there. Shady J, KT Cleans a lot. First Lova, what is happening? And then Scooby-Doo Do Right. Thank you guys, and I appreciate you. All right, and then what do you think about the trench? Does this remind you of something out of World War? I think it's kind of getting harder and harder to deny this is going on. And then Belarus leader says he wants guarantees that Russia will defend his country if it is attacked. If this isn't a setup, then I don't know what is. We've talked about a fantastic Freddy happening in Belarus since Lukashenko said that they will only join Russia's fighting is if they get directly attacked. And everybody thought that was a little weird, right? You know how close they are. You know that they're best buds. And it says Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, told Russia's defense minister on Monday that he wanted guarantees that if that Moscow would defend his country if it was attacked, the state-owned Belta news agency reported. See, in the grand scheme of things, say a big event where something hits inside of Belarus, then they say, we were attacked and we need Russia. And Russia will say, oh, they unjustly attacked Belarus. And then all of a sudden Belarus is involved. They've got that border, and then, of course, all of this going on. This seems a little sus. It says Belta cited Lukashenko as making remarks to the Russian defense minister Sergei Shoigu during a meeting in the Belarusian capital of Minsk. It says that Lukashenko was cited as saying that he had previously discussed the matter with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said he would agreed with him that such security guarantees were necessary and needed to be formalized. In general, it sounded at the talks with Putin that in case of aggression against Belarus, the Russian Federation would protect Belarus as its own territory. Something is being set up here. Some sort of op is happening here. Dex, did you think the same thing when you saw this? Like, why is this being put out there? Do they think that they're going to be attacked?
Like he didn't already have these reassurances a couple years ago? Like he's got to get them now, or he's got to talk about them now. Like where's he been? He's been running the troops through there. He's been setting up, bases and stuff for them. He's, throwing his own rhetoric around and leaked a map about the, potential incursion into Moldova and where they were headed next, and all of that. But he didn't know if Vlad was going to back him up. I mean. It's the timing of this coming out really leads you to ask the question, why now?
Yeah, why now exactly? We have breaking news. Multiple agencies are on the scene to a massive dairy farm explosion that took place this evening. Currently, multiple agencies and emergency crews are on the scene and have confirmed with the multiple casualty incident at South Fork Dairy in Castro. Multiple victims confirmed following the explosion at a dairy farm. Wonder how much explosive stuff there is. Thank you. That was from Ilea, actually let me know, and I'm looking at it live. A massive explosion. You can see that there. In fact, Dex, let's grab a link. I'll send you this right here. This is a picture taken from miles away.
I've got it. I'm getting it.
Do you have the... Let me just make sure you get this
it.
Same picture so I can show this one. There you go. And it says, breaking news on Twitter, a dairy farm explosion in Texas, mass casualty event. Ilea, thank you. Thank you for the heads up. That's why it is great to have live, and then we will add the links for that into the website before the show is done, so you'll be able to access that even on the replay. Why do you think that Lukashenko is saying this? Let's get your feedback on that. Let me know in the comments down below why you think that Lukashenko is saying that he needs reassurances. And then Russia is building new subs to launch its terrifying Apocalypse torpedoes. These, again, are the crazy radioactive tsunami torpedoes. Even as Russia's military continues to struggle in UKR, and see, look at how they started this out. They're starting it out under the assumption that you are going with the single narrative, right? Even as Russia's military continues to struggle in UKR, which, mind you, if those leaks are correct, they're not struggling at all. If the leaks are not correct, then yes, maybe. But there may be two sides to this, and if those leaked documents from our Pentagon and our State Department are correct, then think about all of the articles that talk about it like this. They would basically openly be lying to us, or they're being told. Basically, it's BS, right? It says the country's plans to deploy a unique sea-based form of strategic nuclear deterrence are apparently proceeding. Russia's TASS state news agency reported on Monday that its Pacific Fleet was moving forward with plans to activate a new division of submarines specially designed to launch an intercontinental range nuclear drone torpedo called Poseidon, which could be used to attack coastal cities, which sucks for me. It says this follows Russian media reports in January that had the delivery of the first production batch of Poseidon drone torpedoes, formerly known as the Status 6 Oceanic Multipurpose System, or Canyon, had been successfully completed. It says that not only does each Poseidon torpedo carry a big nuke, approximately a 2 megaton yield, it's propelled by a liquid metal nuclear reactor, giving it essentially inexhaustible range and endurance, and likely high sustainable speeds. It says that Russia has been happy to threaten the use of this weird weapon of mass destruction prior to its operational deployment. It has been showcased in prominent TV appearances by Putin, back when he did the speech and showed an animation of this thing being able to turn, go wherever. It could steer, and it could go forever. It could go from Russia to the U.S., all underwater. And it says, and a commentator on state TV eagerly suggested that the torpedoes could be used to flood the entire United Kingdom in a radioactive tsunami. It says allegedly the new submarine division will become active at a base in the Kamchatka Peninsula in either late 2024 or the first half of 2025, according to TASS. The division seems likely to be eventually encompass 4 of 5 submarines in total, with 30 Poseidons between them. If production stops at 30, that would imply that there would be no bothering with reloads after a doomsday torpedoes are launched. What's crazy is we already have the nukes, but think about how this would be another mutually assured destruction type thing. Think about that. If they're shot in the sky, and if technology gets to the point where they can shoot each one of them out of the sky, now they have one that's underwater, then we would have to come up with a system that can knock them out of the water, or some sort of defense, right? If this can do equal damage from tsunamis, then this would be something with which we couldn't defend against. Dex, have you thought about that? If this could be a world-ending thing, or even the United States or United Kingdom, but yet there's no, it's not like we can put up an anti-air missile to defend against this. We would have to come up with a defense against this underwater. It's kind of a trip to think about.
It certainly is. It's probably an investment that we've got underway, but I don't know how we would defend against this. That's kind of, the whole underwater realm outside of our submarines, which is, our biggest defense, listening and tracking all the sounds that are coming and being able to determine what types of ships or what types of submarines are moving through the water. But this is, it's funny, is on one hand, it makes it sound like they need this submarine in order to have this this Poseidon, but they already have one submarine that can launch it, and isn't that correct? Or we've reported that before, so it's not like they can't launch it. We don't have to wait till 2024 to see this happen.
The Belgorod,
yeah. So it seems like on one hand, I guess they're trying to make it so that they have multiple subs that can launch this, but then on the flip side, you've got Kim over there acting, big and bad, and he's claiming he's already done it. He's got it too. So,
which it makes you doubt if NK has it, or if he does have it, how much did Russia play into giving him it? So, yeah, that's not fun to think about. Real quick, for whatever disaster may come your way, whether it be a storm, a rolling blackout for 8 days like California's had before, or if it be a tornado, earthquake, or a radioactive tsunami, if you want to get yourself some backup food, this is smart to do. The majority of people in the United States have 3 days of food in their house, which is scary. So if you do want to get long-term survival food, this can last 25 plus years. And of course is just pretty much add water and it will be restored. This is freeze-dried, Mylar packed, sealed in buckets, 25-year shelf life food that you can get at an affordable price. In fact, right now there's $200 off on the 3-month plan. That will give you 2 super packed buckets with 3 months worth of food. That's a month for 3 people, a month and a half for 2 people, or 3 months for 1. And you can do that as so on. So if you want to back yourself up, these are good not only for the end of the world, but for normal disasters that could happen, or even inflation. The price of freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years. It's actually closer to quadrupled now, and it's only been about 4 months since that stat came out. So if you do want to get these, think about this. In 3 years from now, if it does quadruple again, you won't have to spend those prices, and you'll still have 22 years left on the shelf. So again, this is add water, freeze-dried, takes out all of the moisture, it packs, so it is extremely space-saving as far as it takes up very little space for 3 months of food. If you get the same amount in canned non-perishables, it'd be a whole lot more. It's definitely a space saver as well, and it helps our channel. You get a giant discount. It's about a third of the price as most of their competitors for a 3-month supply, and it's a really great way to stock up in bulk in a short amount of time. So go to marfooglenews.com/prep. If you can't afford something like this, you can also start with just getting a little bit at a time, like a 72-hour kit or even single meals, or you can go and learn from one of our marfooglenews.com/friends how to do some of this stuff yourself. Now, freeze drying is extremely expensive, but there is a more affordable route, which is dehydration. If you can get yourself your own freeze dryer, that's really good, but they're in the thousands if you want to get one that can really pump out what you'll need. But also dehydration is a much cheaper route, but you do have to put in a lot of the work yourself. That is an option, and I do highly encourage, if you can afford something like this, to go the dehydration route and learn how to do these things from some of our friends. You can find them over on marfooglenews.com/friends, right under the mods, which, again, some of the mods actually have touched on this, but there's a lot of great channels down here, including Alaska Prepper, All Day Every Day Preparedness. You've got all sorts of great ones down there. So make sure to go check them out. Prepper Nurse is a good one. Survival Living, great, and others. So make sure to go check them out. And that's, again, marfooglenews.com/prep. You'll be helping our channel at the same time, so thank you. All right, and then let's see here. Thank you, Ilea. Thank you for the support tonight. Thank you, LOD Will. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody over on DLive. Appreciate the support over there. Jammer, thank you for gifting out a badge to Light of Vibes. Michelle K. Always goes hot during a drill. Yep, absolutely. Hal 9000 Watson, thank you. Thank you again. And then, yeah, Scooby-Doo Right. Thank you for gifting out badges. Appreciate that. Dex, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have the Twitter that you were wanting to show, as well as another image from a different location of that explosion, and an article, a very brief article. It's not a lot of details yet.
Okay, let's switch over real quick. Okay, so let's see here. So this is the breaking story. It's a massive explosion at yet another food-related factory here. It's a dairy farm. And let's see. How often is this going to happen? Check this out. This is the, you can see here, this is from the road, and it's massive. So, and then we have another image here. Get this here. Check that out. That looks about 3 miles away, something like that. It's massive. I guess for those of you, I don't know if there's anybody that has worked on a dairy farm. I guess would fertilizer do this? Like what would cause such a huge explosion? Fuel, perhaps? Maybe stored diesel or something? What could cause such a... If you look, there's the silos right there. Look at how massive that plume is. And they do say that people have perished. So they say it's a mass casualty, but that means it's like more than 5 or more than 3 or something like that. I forget what the number is, but it's not crazy high. So I'm praying for the folks that work there. I'm praying that this isn't purposeful, but there's been so many of them, it's just kind of odd. And then, do we know more about what happened? Is there anything? We do have an article here, but it's kind of vague. So let's see here. Let's see. Dairy explosion reported in Castro County. UMC EMS called to assist. University Medical Center EMS dispatch confirmed everythinglubbock.com that is assisting with a multiple casualty incident at South Fork Dairy in Castro County. Officials said that UMC's mass casualty ambulance was called at approximately 8:15 p.m. Initial reports indicated that there was an explosion at the dairy, so there's still nothing. There's literally no information about how it happened, what exploded it. We'll update you on tomorrow's show, and then, of course, if there's anything that really is important to update on this one, we will add that into the web content or on the actual show website. Speaking of which, we have a lot of really crazy stuff here, so let's go over the overflow, all the stuff that didn't fit into the show.
That's right. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link. It's in the description. It's real easy to get to. It'll take you right here. There's some crazy news going on. When you get to this yellow bar called Overflow, that's where the rest of the story is. So first off, go into a little detail here, but man, this is kind of weird. The Dalai Lama is having to apologize after embracing a young child at a press charity event in India where everybody was around him. The boy asked, "Hey, can I hug you?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on." And he gave him a hug, and then he gave him a kiss on the cheeks. Then he asked him to kiss him on the mouth. And then he said something else to him, and everybody is just sort of like, what the heck is he, this old guy, talking about? And this is the Dalai Lama. So, yeah, really strange, guys. Go check that out if you want all the details and exactly what he said to that's getting and causing such a commotion over. There's some new warnings coming out about
Kerfuffle.
using a kerfuffle, that's for sure. We can call it that. There's some new warnings coming out about using those public charging stations. Apparently, you can get hacked through those, or some places are actually trying to infiltrate your phone. So the FBI is putting out a warning on that. By the way, Off Grid has those blockers you can put on your cable so that if you do use one of those places, nothing can get through, only the electricity. So it's kind of a cool tool. I found that the other day. In the political spectrum, we've got more confirmations about JB's intentions for 2024. You've got all the updates around T-Man and what's going on there. Some stuff going on in Tennessee, which is carried over from last week, and that's probably going to continue for a little bit. There was some other events happening. Newsom's talking about what's going on in his point of view. We've got the Elon saga will continue, where they talk bad about Twitter, or they talk about his financial issues. That's covered in here. We definitely have some updates around UKR. We've got some additional locations that are using AI for their news broadcasters, like these, and not just AI as in somebody's using Chat GPT to help them write the story. These are fake humans on screen that are AI generated newscasters. This is probably like the third country I've seen do this. So I think this is coming out of Kuwait. Some weird stuff washing up over in Southern California on the shores. And then again, like I said, we've got all the updates going on with the potential conflicts either in Taiwan as well as what's currently going on in Europe with UKR. So some other stuff in there around the tanks, around some insurance problems Putin's having with his planes that got damaged or whatnot. So that and a whole lot more. I didn't even give you all of it, but if you want to see the rest of the story, go to the website. All of this is put together for you every night. You can go click on those articles, read more about it, get the rest of the story, understand what's going on. Again, marfuglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link. It's in the description on YouTube and Rumble. Very easy to get to.
Yeah, one of the easiest things to do is find all of our sources for the show. You can always find a full bibliography over there at show notes. All right. Thank you, everybody that made it. EOD Vet actually chimed in here with the super, said fertilizer would be a lower chance. Fertilizer, lower chance. Dust explosion, my guess. A dust explosion. Huh. Well, thank you, EOD Vet. Thank you, Ilea, LOD Will. Thank you, Zen1AZ, for supporting tonight. Thank you guys for the super chats. Appreciate that. And then thank you, everybody else that made it tonight. Happy Easter. I hope everybody had a blessed Easter with their family, and I hope everybody found a lot of eggs. Have a good night, guys. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Now it is time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. It's going down. Oh, will they give us regulars a warning? They know it's going down. Will they give us regulars a warning? They know it's going down. Oh, will they give us regulars a warning? Tonight's top supporter will be Ilea. Let's do a song for Ilea. They know it's going down. We got to make a fresh one for Ilea. Ilea is also one of our great mods. Thank you so much for supporting the show as well. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to make one similar. Boom, boom, boom. I know